There's something sitting in your kitchen right now, something you've probably used hundreds, maybe thousands of times, and the honest truth is that most people never question it. It's not a junk food. It's not a fast food meal. It's not even something you'd think twice about, because it doesn't look harmful. It doesn't taste harmful. It's just part of cooking, part of the routine. But over years of daily use, especially after 60, when your arteries are already working harder than they used to, certain cooking oils can quietly contribute to a level of inflammation inside your blood vessels that gradually, steadily, makes the whole cardiovascular system work harder than it should. And here's the part that genuinely concerns me. Many of the oils I'm talking about have been marketed as healthy choices for decades. Heart healthy. Light. Good for you. Labels that made people feel confident about what they were putting in their bodies. Labels that in many cases the science simply has not supported. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening inside your arteries when certain oils are heated, reused, and consumed daily over time. You'll understand why this matters more after 60 than it did at 40. And you'll have a clear, practical picture of what to use instead. Because this is absolutely something you can change, starting with your very next meal. Stay with me, because there is one cooking habit I'm going to describe a little later in this video that I find more concerning than the oil choice itself. And it happens in kitchens across America every single day. I've spent years working with older adults navigating cardiovascular risk, patients managing blood pressure, cholesterol, circulation, patients who were genuinely trying to eat well, reading labels, choosing products marketed as healthy, doing what they'd been told. And again, one of the things that came up when we looked carefully at their daily habits was this: what they were cooking with. Not just what they were eating, what they were cooking it in. It sounds like a small detail, but at the level of what's happening inside your blood vessels, inside the artery walls that determine whether blood flows freely or struggles to get through, it isn't small at all. Here's the foundation you need to understand first, and I'll keep this simple. Think of your arteries like flexible tubes. When you're young, those tubes are smooth on the inside, elastic, and responsive. Blood moves through them easily. The walls expand and contract with each heartbeat, and the whole system works with very little friction. As we age, that flexibility naturally decreases. The inner lining of the arteries, called the endothelium, becomes more sensitive to damage. Inflammation, high blood sugar, elevated blood pressure, and certain dietary components can irritate that lining over time. When the lining is repeatedly irritated, the body responds by sending repair signals that, over years, can result in the buildup of plaque along the artery walls. The tubes begin to narrow. Blood flow becomes more restricted, and the heart has to work harder with every single beat just to push blood through a system that's become less cooperative. This process doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, across decades. And the choices made in the kitchen, the fats and oils that become part of every cooked meal, are part of that picture in a way that deserves a real, honest conversation. Let's start with the category of oils that concerns me most: the highly refined seed and vegetable oils. These are the oils most commonly found in American kitchens and processed foods. Soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, canola oil, which many people still believe is a healthy choice because of how it's been marketed for years. Generic vegetable oil, which is typically a blend of several of these. The issue is not simply that these oils exist. The issue is in how they're made and what happens to them when they're heated. Most seed and vegetable oils go through an extensive industrial refining process to make them shelf-stable, neutral in flavor, and suitable for mass production. That process involves high heat, chemical solvents, bleaching, and deodorizing. By the time the oil reaches your kitchen, it has already been subjected to conditions that degrade the structure of the fat molecules inside it. These oils are high in something called omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids. Omega-6 fats are not inherently dangerous. Your body needs some of them. But the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fats in your diet matters enormously for inflammation. Historically, humans consumed roughly equal amounts of omega-6 and omega-3 fats. The modern American diet, saturated with refined seed oils, tips that ratio wildly, sometimes 15 or 20 times more omega-6 than omega-3. And that imbalance is pro-inflammatory. It quietly drives a low-grade chronic inflammation throughout the body that, over years, affects the arteries, the heart, and the blood vessels that supply every organ, including the kidneys. I talked about the connection between chronic inflammation and kidney health in a recent video, and that relationship is real. When inflammation is chronically elevated throughout the body, the kidneys and the cardiovascular system both feel it. These systems are not separate. They are deeply biologically linked. Now here's where the cooking piece becomes particularly important, and this is the part I promised to come back to. Polyunsaturated fats, which make up the majority of most seed and vegetable oils, are chemically unstable when exposed to heat. When you heat these oils, when you saute, fry, roast, or cook at high temperatures, the fat molecules begin to break down and oxidize. Oxidized fats are what researchers often call damaged fats, and they behave differently in the body than intact fats do. When oxidized fats are consumed, they can directly irritate the endothelial lining of the arteries. They contribute to oxidative stress, essentially a kind of cellular damage driven by unstable molecules called free radicals. And that oxidative stress is one of the key mechanisms through which arterial plaque begins to develop and accumulate over time. So the oil that seemed fine when it came out of the bottle becomes something meaningfully more problematic after it's been heated to frying temperature. And the higher the heat and the longer the cooking time, the more oxidation occurs. This leads directly to the most dangerous kitchen habit I mentioned at the beginning: reusing cooking oil. It is extraordinarily common and completely understandable because nobody wants to waste oil, and nobody told you this was a problem. But when oil is heated, cooled, and then reheated, sometimes multiple times, the oxidation compounds. Aldehydes, acrolein, and other toxic breakdown products accumulate in the oil with each heating cycle. These compounds have been studied extensively in the context of cardiovascular inflammation, and the research is not reassuring. Restaurants that rely on deep fryers face this same issue, which is part of why regularly consuming fried fast food, cooked in oils that have been used and reused throughout the day at extremely high temperatures, carries genuine cardiovascular risk over time. The oil itself starts harmful and becomes more so with every use. If you've been pouring used cooking oil back into a container to use again, or leaving oil in a pan to cook with again tomorrow, I'd encourage you to rethink that habit starting today. Fresh oil, in appropriate amounts, used once at moderate heat, is a fundamentally different thing than repeatedly reheated oil that's been sitting on your stove. Let me also address something that I think genuinely confuses people, and it's the question of what to make of the labels. Heart healthy, light olive oil, made with vegetable oil. These phrases are everywhere, and they are not regulated with the kind of precision that might make you feel confident in what they actually mean. A product can be labeled heart healthy based on limited criteria that don't necessarily reflect the full picture of how that product affects inflammation, oxidation, or arterial health over years of daily use. This is not meant to make you distrust everything. It's meant to encourage you to look beyond the front of the package and understand what's actually in what you're cooking with. Now, and this is important, because I don't want this video to only be about what to avoid, let's talk about what genuinely serves your arteries well. Extra virgin olive oil is the fat with perhaps the most robust research supporting cardiovascular health. The pre-dimed study, which followed thousands of older adults at elevated cardiovascular risk, found that those who consumed extra virgin olive oil as their primary fat had significantly lower rates of major cardiac events compared to those who reduced fat overall. The key compounds in extra virgin olive oil, particularly oleocanthal and oleic acid, have demonstrated anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties that directly support the health of the artery lining. The important nuances here are the word extra virgin and the word quality. Extra virgin olive oil is cold-pressed, minimally processed, and retains its beneficial compounds. Light olive oil or refined olive oil has been processed in ways that reduce those benefits significantly. And quality matters. There has been documented adulteration in the olive oil market, particularly with cheaper oils blended in. Choosing a reputable brand or one with third-party testing certification gives you much better assurance of what you're actually getting. Extra virgin olive oil is best used for lower to medium heat cooking, sautéing vegetables, dressing salads, drizzling over finished dishes. For higher heat cooking, avocado oil is an excellent choice. It has a very high smoke point, is high in monounsaturated fat, and is minimally processed compared to refined seed oils. It handles roasting and higher temperature sautéing without the oxidation concerns that plague seed oils. Butter and ghee, particularly from grass-fed sources, are fats that deserve a more nuanced conversation than they've historically received.
The decades-long demonization of saturated fat, it turns out, was based on research that has been substantially revised. Moderate amounts of minimally processed saturated fat from whole food sources do not appear to increase cardiovascular risk in the same way that highly refined, oxidized vegetable oils do. This is a shift in thinking that many cardiologists and nutrition researchers have moved toward over the past 15 years, even if that message has been slow to reach the public. None of this means consuming unlimited butter or saturated fat without consideration. It means that replacing refined seed oils with minimally processed fats, like extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, and small amounts of quality butter, is a meaningful and well-supported dietary shift for cardiovascular health. I also want to connect this to a few things that amplify the damage, because the oil doesn't exist in isolation from the rest of your biology. Blood sugar instability is one of the most significant drivers of arterial inflammation. When blood sugar spikes repeatedly, from refined carbohydrates, from sweetened beverages, from skipping breakfast and then eating a large meal, glucose molecules attach to proteins in the blood vessel walls in a process called glycation. That glycation stiffens the arteries, reduces their elasticity, and makes them more vulnerable to the kind of oxidative damage we've been discussing.
Managing blood sugar isn't just a diabetes conversation. It's a cardiovascular conversation. I covered the morning habits that affect blood sugar most significantly in a recent video, and for those of you managing glucose, that video connects directly to what we're talking about here. Sleep is another piece of this that most people don't associate with their cooking oil, but hear me out. Chronic poor sleep elevates cortisol and inflammatory markers throughout the body. It impairs the body's ability to repair the endothelial lining of the arteries during the night. It raises blood pressure, and it reduces the body's antioxidant capacity, meaning the daily oxidative damage from food, environment, and stress gets cleared less efficiently. Every night of poor sleep is a night your arteries spent less time healing than they needed to.
Stress, similarly, drives a sustained cortisol response that is directly pro-inflammatory. Cortisol keeps the cardiovascular system in a low-level state of alertness, elevated heart rate, elevated blood pressure, elevated blood sugar. Over months and years, that sustained stress response accelerates the very processes we've been talking about. The practical message here is that your cooking oil choice matters, and it matters most when it's part of a broader picture of how you're treating your body. An excellent oil used in a diet full of refined carbohydrates, poor sleep, and chronic stress is still swimming upstream. And a modest improvement in oil choice, combined with stable blood sugar, adequate sleep, and managed stress, produces results that are genuinely additive. Small changes, consistently made, compound over time in ways that are measurable in how you feel, how your circulation performs, and what shows up on your blood work. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What oil do you cook with most often right now? Has anything I shared today surprised you? Or maybe confirmed something you'd already suspected? And have you made any changes to your diet since turning 60? I genuinely read these comments, and your responses shape what I cover next. Tell me where you're watching from, too. This community reaches all across the country, and knowing who's on the other end of these videos means something real to me. Here's what I want you to hold on to as this video ends. Your arteries are not a fixed thing. They are living tissue. They respond, slowly, over time, but genuinely and measurably to the environment you create for them. Every meal is part of that environment. Every cooking choice is part of that environment. And the accumulated weight of small daily decisions is what determines, over years, whether your cardiovascular system is aging gracefully or aging under unnecessary strain. Switching from a refined seed oil to a quality extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil is not a dramatic change. It doesn't require a complete lifestyle overhaul. It requires buying a different bottle the next time you're at the grocery store. That is a genuinely small act with a genuinely meaningful long-term impact. You deserve to know that your choices matter, and you deserve to make them with the best information available. Not marketing language, not decades-old guidelines that haven't kept up with the science, but an honest conversation about what the research actually shows. If this video opened your eyes to something you want to change, please share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it too. A spouse, a sibling, a friend who cooks every day and has never once questioned what's in the bottle on their stove. Subscribe if you'd like to keep receiving this kind of honest, evidence-based health guidance built specifically for where you are in life. And if you haven't already watched the video on the 12 warning signs your heart may be sending you, that's the natural next step from here. Because understanding what's happening inside your arteries is more meaningful when you also understand the signals your body uses to tell you when something isn't right. That video is linked right here. Take care of your heart. It is worth every small, consistent effort you give it.